Have you ever spoken with a university who wanted to do a study with you and look at the effects?
No.
There's no reception in our area to that,
No.
but you'd have to be able to travel to see. I think if we were able to go to, let's say, the University of Colorado, they'd probably be curious.
Yes. But see, right now, and that's the sad thing, right now, since, I had my eyes removed, there's really no physical study they can do, but they can do a verbal testimony study. But with the lupus, with autoimmune disease, they can do a physical study. Post-traumatic stress disorder, yes, they could do, studies on that. And I used to just focus when I dealt with the medical cannabis and spoke on it. I did a lot in college. I wrote every one of my papers. If I could finagle my way to do it, I wrote every one of my college papers on medical cannabis and why it should be legal. I discussed it. I interviewed in 2004. I interviewed all of the third-party candidates for president, and that was one of the topics that we discussed with all the candidates.
So who all did you get?
It was the Green Party.
So at that time, was that Ralph Nader or
David Cobb?
Gotcha.
Yes, and even the workers, different workers' parties, the Libertarian Party, and that to me is a step in the right direction. We need to get. That's something that everybody in all these organizations need to start working on. Is getting candidates, finding people who are wanting to run local office, state office, federal office, run on medical cannabis. We need candidates, and we need people who are willing to stand up there and say, okay, look, this has gone on long enough, and this is something we need to change.
What would you say to those politicians in Tennessee? We've seen this. Well, I agree with you, and of course I have family that deals with it, and I agree with you, but publicly, I have to. What do you say to that politician who basically tells you they have to lie?
Then they're not the one that needs to be running.
They need to be unseated.
Yes. And again, I don't know really where to go or what to do on it, but there's a lot of people with a voice who are afraid because they work for the state.
Right.
And they're afraid even if they come out publicly and join an organization, they're going to lose their jobs. And, somebody's going to have to come out and lose their job for this to come, that issue. There's so many issues tied up in medical cannabis, and because it is a hot button issue. And
in 2014 it is. Just imagine as we move this time next year, where will we be in this conversation and on and on and on. It's almost inevitable at some point. People younger than your daughter even are one day going to say, what do you mean? People got arrested for this? Are you serious? I just imagine when we're in that time.
Even last year, like I said, we've made steps. Because even last year, this time last year, or a little before, who would have thought in Tennessee we've even had a medical cannabis bill
proposed?
Yes. So, I don't like taking baby steps. I'm a giant step person, but sometimes that's what you have to do. And again, the sad thing is this issue has turned into a political issue. And it needs to be a caring issue, a compassion issue, a freedom of choice issue.
An American rights issue, because at the end of the day, we're supposed to be guaranteed, what is that? The right to life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness.
Exactly.
But it's a person who has epilepsy and is not able to access anything except for 20 milligrams of Valium or enough Xanax to make you a vegetable.
Yes.
If that's the only option they have, do they really have the option to be happy?
Or side effects.
Right.
Side effects that are going to be just as damaging and just as bad. And I don't know the name of the medication, but there is a medication for children who are having seizures.
Talking about Depakote?
Don't remember the name of it, but what got my attention was, back when I was reading about it, was one of the number one side effects that prolonged use of this medicine will blind you.
Right.
And I'm like, oh.
You are talking about Depakote.
Yes. And I'm like, I'd move heaven and earth and sell everything I own to move to Colorado to not have to make that choice. And see, that's what it is. These people are forced into choices like that. I was forced into a choice. Mm-hmm. And it's just, I mean, I'm not going to cry. I could cry. I'm about to cry because of the choice I had to make. Granted, it was, 24 years ago or so, and it's worked out fine, but I should have never had to choose between my sight and my child. My friend that I know should have never had to risk everything to get marijuana for his mom because the medication that she was using for glaucoma just wasn't working anymore, and she had the same kind of idea where she was in pain.
You shouldn't have to just
I know cancer patients who have had family members to turn them in because they were using marijuana to help with the nerve pain from the chemotherapy and the nausea, where the medicines that they were given just wasn't working. And then they ended up on probation. And that's not just one person, that's several people. If you just do the research, if you look on the internet and read and watch these videos, all you have to do is go to YouTube or Google and do a search for videos and Charlotte's Web and some of the stories of these families who didn't have access to Charlotte's Web, because it hadn't been created yet, but have had to leave their homes and everything for the life of their kids. There was one woman talking, and she said, I was giving my kid CPR constantly and praying that this, and knowing, they're going to die this time. And now, though, with Charlotte's Web, 100% turnaround for this child. Mm-hmm. Even our families who have moved from Tennessee to Colorado for the medical marijuana, the
Mathesons, the Spencers, and more.
The Coozers, who the bill was partially named after. And, put on Facebook, there's pictures, look at this, our child smiled at us today.
We look at Millie Madison.
Yes.
We look at her on Facebook all the time where she's smiling and making progress with things that her mom, Nicole, was so worried that she would never do now that they live in Colorado. And it's sad because this only could have happened after they made a move like that. And they were torn up by it. Of course, They wanted to stay in their home. But that choice was basically taken away from them. And that's just not fair. And there are other people, and I'll just be straight up with you. I'm the kind, I'll sit here and say, stay here, fight the good fight. But if I had a way to do it, I'd be out of here. Yeah. I can't fault him at all because we're here fighting for it because we do want to bring change to Tennessee for all of those people who don't have the resources to make it out to another state. Because one, you shouldn't have to make that choice. But two, many of you won't have that choice just because of a lack of resources. So somebody has to fight that fight. But the families that make that decision to give relief to their families, of course, you can't hold that against them because if it were you and you have the ability to, like you said, you'd be gone tomorrow. Any of the opponents of the bill who just doesn't know enough. If David Reagan's son got glaucoma and the choice was lose your sight over the course of this year or move to Colorado where you can get access to medical marijuana, what would David Reagan do?
And I mean, autism. You hear a lot in the news about children with autism. There are families who are even experimenting on their own and have noticing progress with their children because they give them different strains of marijuana and knowing they're taking a risk, but they're taking a risk not doing it too.
A huge risk.
I mean, who wants to see their kid strung out on Valium just to keep them a little bit calm, Or a kid who just, even like, everybody, it teases and everything, but, you smoke pot, you're going to get the munchies. And not every medical cannabis, the element, THC, not every use for medical cannabis solely depends on THC, but there are some uses that do. And, one of the effects is, with the THC, you have it, you're going to get the munchies. Okay? But there are people out there who need the munchies.
Right.
There are people out there, with a lot of children with autism, their kids, they have problems with different kinds of foods. And they're more sensitive to textures and even color and different things. But the parents who are experimenting with this in other states where it's legal to have it, so they're not going to be caught with it. And, the one woman actually just put it out on YouTube what she was doing. But her kid's gaining weight. Her kid's eating. And what's the big difference? I mean, the medical marijuana would have, even with the THC, even with that factor, is better than a lot. I'm not saying all, but a lot of the medications that are being given.
There are people out there who would say all, simply by virtue of the fact that even if a medication theoretically, a pharmaceutical theoretically, didn't get you addicted, right? Now, I'm not so sure that anything effective out there from the pharmaceutical world would even fit this definition. But let's say there is something out there that doesn't get you addicted. Once you stop that medication, your side effects come roaring back.
Yeah.
You go through withdrawals. All those things are there. With marijuana, none of that is there. If you don't have marijuana the next time around, you'll want some because you want the relief. But I've never once heard of anyone on the black market in marijuana, medical marijuana, any of these situations, going out and robbing their neighborhood.
I've smoked off and on since I was 16. I'm 50 years old. And it's like I said, now psychologically, I can't take hydrocodone or anything because I went through the narcotics withdrawal. I've gone years and years without smoking. No bad effects.
Never been sitting in a room sweating.
No.
I need it.
No, never, ever, ever.
Just doesn't happen. Now, one thing I wanted to ask you, of course, everyone looking at the video sees your eyes now. When they removed your eyes, what do we have here now?
Oh, I have the most wonderful, wonderful guy who makes prosthetics, and yes, I will plug him.
Yeah.
His name is Scott Fiscus, and he's in Nashville. And I just drew a blank on what his office is called. Precision Ocular Prosthetics.
Gotcha.
And my eyes are modeled after my youngest daughter, Chesney's.
Wow.
The doctor looked at her eyes and then painted. They're handmade and painted, And this guy just does a wonderful, wonderful, terrific job. I can't say enough good about him.
Because, nobody ever wants to be rude enough to come out and ask you. But, of course, we're curious. When we see your eyes, we never know.
Oh, sometimes if people don't know, I'll tell people just to brag on them.
Yeah.
Because, Scott is just a wonderful, wonderful person and does such an incredibly good job.
So he literally made him the model.
That's cool. A guy who's a big University of Kentucky fan. He made him eyes. The guy paid for him, and he made him eyes just to wear to ball games that have a little UK in the eye.
Oh wow!
I asked him, could he make stoner eyes for me to level, because, you know, if all of my other friends, you know, are gonna have red eyes and have a chance of, you know, call, you know, maybe I should level the playing field.
Yeah, because we've got to make you fit in when we go out to these events and everybody else has the red eye. We've got to ask Dr. Fiskus, can he get us some red bloodshot eyes? Because, you know, our friend Yvonne is right here with us, of course. Down with the cause. That's going to be our next campaign. We're going to get you the bloodshot eyes.
Hey, if I had my way for a campaign, I would have eyes made with like this little pot leaf right there, you know, like.
I love it. That's actually wonderful, because not only does it show that these doctors really interact with your family, they really care about you and did something that obviously you were going to have these for the rest of your life. So he really put love and care into these for you. In some places, people just get what they get out of their medical providers.
And I'm lucky. Look, I'm lucky. I consider myself extremely lucky. I lost my eyes. Other people are losing their lives because of this stupid, stupid prohibition on marijuana. People die. People die when they're going through chemo and the medication to help the side effects from the chemo is not working. People die because they can't live in as much pain as they're living in anymore. And they just give up. You know, I just lost my sight. I got a good relationship now with my oldest daughter. That worked itself out.
Videos like this are an inspiration to people. I think that's one thing people like yourself, Jacqueline Patterson, Ginger Wright and her son Corbin, you know, the Madisons. This is huge when the world gets a chance to see you say things like that, because sometimes people get down on their own personal situation. I'm dealing with depression and, you know, it's just slamming me down. I'm dealing with this multiple sclerosis and people don't accept me. It's just bringing me down. I'm overweight. I'm a black guy in a town full of white guys, and it's just hard. But when you hear a person in your situation say something like, I just lost my sight, I still have, you know, you have power. You're a board member of Tennesseans for Compassionate Care. You're an important member in our group, and your voice right now is going to be making a difference to possibly millions of people. So statements like that, I think we don't realize how much power we have. And it inspires me to hear you say things like that. So.
And just in case anybody running for office or anybody running in the next few years, we are the voters. And we will vote our hearts. And we will vote our friends' hearts and our friends' lives. We will vote our friends here so they don't have to go to Colorado. And we will vote people out. Let it be known. Because we are stronger. Even just the normal chapter in Tennessee is stronger now than it was a year ago. Marijuana Policy Project, they're stronger. Tennesseans for Compassionate Care, we're a new organization, but we're strong and we're getting stronger. And there will be more of these videos. And these videos are going to be watched. So, just honestly, a heads up for the people in political office. We are the research. My story is the research. The person that may live on your block who is going through chemotherapy, who the Phenergan's just not working for her nausea, she's the research. The veteran who comes home after fighting in Iraq, Afghanistan, anywhere, they're the research. That's what you need to listen And the key word in our organization for Tennessee is for compassionate care is compassionate. And so, people who are watching this, next time you go to the poll, vote your heart, not your party. If you're in an organization that deals with a disability, an organization for blind people, or anything, go to your organizations and say, hey, I want us as an organization, as a whole, to stand up for our members who have glaucoma, for our members who medical marijuana could help. That's what it's going to take. One person at a time, one organization at a time, one vote at a time.
We're going to make them one video at a time as well, because our next series is going to focus in on our politicians who for some reason are just missing the message. Politicians like our local friend Bob Ramsey in Maryville, who just decided to vote against both the CBD bill as well as Cougar Coon, essentially saying to us, nobody ever should have access to marijuana, and he doesn't care how much you're suffering. This is a position that we as Tennesseans have to make clear will not allow you to stay in public office. This is a disqualifier, and we're going to make that clear in 2014. I don't know what else to say on that point.
I don't know what else to say on that point.
It makes you want to go out there and write some letters, right? But beyond that, what do you think of the kind of backpedaling that has happened in certain situations where we do have reform, such as out in Colorado, where certain groups are trying to push for more child protective services investigations into people's lives and get people's children taken away because they know they use cannabis? It indicated to me that the fight's never over. Even when you get the laws changed, this is something that requires constant vigilance. So even when we think we get a victory, there's still a normal in Colorado. It doesn't end once we get one law changed. So I know we got a long way to go in Tennessee, but we've got to remember this is going to be a fight. We've got to stay in for the long haul.
And fight for Tennessee, but also while we're fighting for Tennessee, fight the federal fight too.
I want to go to D.C. as part of this documentary as well. Would you be down to travel?
Hey, let me tell you, there's a thing called Megabus, and you can get from Knoxville to D.C. and back for like $2. I kid you not. It leaves like at 10 o'clock at night, and it gets to D.C. like at 7 in the morning. You can sleep on the bus and be ready to go. I've done it.
Got you. So D.C., Florida, once that bill comes up, it's going to be November when they have their bill coming up. They are a referendum state, though, so they can just say, hey, people, what do you want to do?
I know.
Here in Tennessee, however, we got to lean on our I love to use quotations around this term, representatives. That means somebody who's supposed to represent your interests.
Yes.
Not sure that's what we have right now.
It's not what we have, because if it's what we have, that MTSU poll with the 75% in favor of medical cannabis, which it was in the teens, I think, percent of those were Republicans.
Right.
So, when you voted down, the representatives here in Tennessee, when you voted down, and I say you because one of these days this video is going to come across your desk.
Oh, yeah.
You voted down Cougar Coon when your constituents were for it. That's not representation. That's political game playing. That's sickening.
And 2014 is the year when it ends. I don't know, what other kind of stuff you want to cover? Those were the major points. That last segment we're going to use, that's going to be the centerpiece. I might use that as the intro for the one where we start talking about which politicians voted against. I might use that intro because that was great for that. But I don't know, what other, if you had something specific.
Damn, Miss Sturgeon got me like passion raised up.
Yeah, that's what we hope they do. But yeah, the part about your eyes though, you should tell people that story. That's cool. I didn't know I thought, my assumption was, honestly, they just couldn't give you a cookie cutter, here's an eye. But they actually modeled it after your daughter? Wow.
Yes. Dude even gave me, I've got a glass eye he gave me. He bought on eBay. He bought a bunch of them that were made in Germany over 100 years ago.
Wow.
It's a glass eye made, it's really cool.
I didn't know they had that long ago.
Yeah, and it's lightweight too.
Huh.
You want to see what one looks like? Not in my, I've got another one.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
an old one. It's really interesting.
Sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh crap! Fuck!
That's right. Yeah.
Oh my knee! Oh shit! Oh bad! Oh. See, I've fallen like a couple times already when my knee gives out on me.
There you go.
Oh, please.
There we go.
Let me go get that and show you. 'Cause it's really neat.
Oh, you brought them up.
You already has them.
Which ones you bringing?
The old plastic ones.
Which ones?
Your original ones.
Oh, I was going to show them the better
The
ones.
last one, I don't know where it's, I was looking for.
I know where the last one is. Oh,
You can get a good shot of that.
okay, those that he's showing you were not made by this guy.
Got you.
Now I want you to see the difference.
So these are more the kind of standard ones where they just have some weighting. I'm huge in covering it. Hang on. And they're just like plastic. So right now, Yvonne, there's no hope in terms of our current technology we don't have the ability to regrow eyes, I'm assuming.
And not until we get the necessary stem cell research.
That's what I was going to ask about. You know, TED Talks and all those kind of things, they're showing they're regrowing livers, kidneys.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So how far away are we in terms of that research, or is there even...
We have it now. In France, right now, if you lose your permanent teeth, they can regrow new ones.
Gotcha. Just with stem cells.
Just with stem cells. We have the technology.
So, and the eye is obviously vastly more complex,
But it goes off of the same principle.
Really?
They can take the stem cell, put it in the eye socket, inject whatever medicine to tell it to start growing, and it will actually grow the eye.
Wow. But see, would that be able to happen inside of a person, or would you have to take like a scalpel thing? That, you know, that's what they do with livers.
In theory, it could happen.
Okay, now wait a minute. I think you've got the ones that Scott made. Which ones of these are better looking? These or those?
You hear what we were talking about? She wanted to get the bloodshot ones.
No, I want to get Potley. Everybody, yeah, I need to get bloodshot ones. That way,
You should get bloodshot and the poly
Yeah.
together.
Yeah, one.